Well, welcome everyone to today's webinar, Standing Out from the Crowd. And look at that, you're all jumping in already in the chat. Yay, I love it. I'm so excited to see everyone again. We had taken a very brief break because we were hosting our 24th annual Conference for Administrative Excellence in October, and it consumes a great deal of our time toward the end of August, September, and October, obviously. But I am so excited to be back with you today, and we're going to have a phenomenal topic. I have lots of great information for you. So yes, as we're getting started, please join in. Let us know where you're from, and also how's your weather? We're still nice and sunny Las Vegas, but I know many of you are chiming in from the Midwest and the East, where it's kind of nippy. I'm Joan Burge, founder and CEO of Office Dynamics International. We are the global leader in the development and presentation of sophisticated training programs and information for administrative office professionals. And we have been doing that since 1990. I'm also the author of 4 books for administrative professionals, including the Amazon bestseller, Who Took My Pen Again? Well, before we begin, I have a few logistics and administrative announcements to go over with you, and that'll also give some of you time to chime in. So let me go through. I have 6 logistics for you. So first of all, the learning part of today's webinar will be about 40 to 45 minutes, and then it will be followed by a Q&A. The second point, you can submit your questions anytime throughout this webinar. You can submit them in the chat. And it's very helpful if you also choose the question mark icon. And that way, when we get to the question session, then Malia could quickly grab your questions and I will try to answer as many as I can. So that was the third point. The webinar platform that we use holds about 1,000 people in our chat, which is really a lot. But in case you're wondering why you didn't get in, I would just recommend next time you show up just a little bit earlier so you can get in the chat. Next is, if you have any technical issues during our webinar, please let us know through the chat. Please, we ask that you do not write Malia Amira. She cannot handle the volume of emails that come in. We have over 5,000 people registered for this webinar. And also, she really can assist you. So again, if you have any technical issues, please put them in the chat and we'll see how we can help you. And sometimes remember, it's at your end, not so much with the platform that we're using. Next, we do have a handout for today's program. So you may have received that prior to our event today. If not, there should be a link, I believe, in the chat, or it's somewhere in there. I know that we have had it available for you to access, and you might have received it early this morning right before we've gone on today's program. And last, we will send a replay link after today's webinar. So if you don't catch everything that I say, just know that you'll be able to play it again, and maybe you just want to replay it because of great information. Also today, I have special announcements. I have 4 special announcements and 1 great surprise included within the announcements. So I hope you can stay on until the end of our program. Are you ready to begin? So why is it that certain assistants stand out from the others? That was a question I asked myself in 1990 when I started Office Dynamics, and after I had been in the profession for 20 years. And so as I was starting Office Dynamics, I was thinking about the skills and the different aspects of the profession that I wanted to teach administrative professionals. And so I reflected on my own 20-year experience working in 12 different companies where I was exposed to hundreds of assistants. And I thought about it for quite a while. And I wanted to know, why were there why were there certain assistants that stood out, that really shined above the rest? And I gave it great thought. And I also took several pads of Post-it notes and I jotted everything I thought about when I thought about those star assistants. What was it that they did? Why did they shine? Why did they not blend in with the others? And what I ended up with, well, of course, were several hundred Post-its. But what it finally led me to is I realized that I could take all of those over 200 or 300 attributes and skills and fold them into 4 key areas. So the star assistants, they excelled in 4 areas. And those 4 areas are skill, attitude, teamwork, and strategy. And those of you who have been following me for years, you know that those are the core, that is the essence of what I teach. And now within those 4, of course, there are many different topics and many skills and behaviors to develop. So again, I hope you have your handout. By the way, first of all, if you have your handout, you could start filling in your blanks, okay? I purposely like to leave blanks for you because you actually learn more when you are writing and taking in information than just listening. So that's why I do that for you. All right, and we're going to delve into those 4 in a little while. The second aspect of why those assistants shined above the rest is they saw their profession as a true profession and true career. They weren't in it to just pass time until they could find something better. They truly saw themselves as these career professionals, and they were very proud of what they did and very proud to be supporting these great executives and managers. And I truly, truly admired that. And I myself felt that when I was an assistant. It was a career for me. It wasn't just something to pass the time. The third area, they were hungry to learn and grow. And I'd like you to think back with me for a moment, because we're going back 4 decades, 3 decades, where training and development wasn't even really talked about, not like it is today. But those star assistants, they were hungry. They wanted to learn. They wanted to grow. They tried to grab any opportunity that they could to excel in their profession. And also, while there were not a lot of, seminars and workshops for assistants then, they still looked for other opportunities of how they could become more educated, which allowed them to be better assistants and allowed them to be those true career professionals. So let me go through that one more time before we move on as to why you should want to be a standout performer. So let's recap. I know a lot of you are just joining in. So the assistants who shined above the rest, let's do the fill in the blanks. The first, they excelled in 4 key areas. The 4 key areas were skill, attitude, teamwork, and strategy. Number 2 point in your handout, they saw the profession as a career of choice. And number 3 in your handout, they were hungry to learn and grow. So why should you care? Why should you want to be the standout assistant? Because maybe, I'm thinking, when you read standout, you might have thought that was kind of egotistical. Sometimes when you think about, I want to stand out, we think of someone having an ego, but that's not the reason why you should want to stand out. So let me go through the whys, and then we will get to the hows. So first of all, why should you want to be a star performer? Why should you want to stand out? First of all, unceasing change. I've talked about change for 27 years since I started my business, and nothing has really changed as far as what I've talked about with change and the strategies I've used, other than Change today is coming at us faster than ever before. It's not even hour to hour anymore. Sometimes it's minute to minute. How many of you would agree with that? If you agree that you're feeling like change is going faster than you could keep up with, would you please let us know in the chat? I'd love for you to chime in and participate in this. So the idea is change is going so fast that if you are not continually developing yourself and learning and growing and stretching out of your comfort zones, you will be left in the dust. And many of you have heard me talk about this before. But the other part, what it has to do with being, a standout assistant, is you being able to keep up with change is really important. That's what will make you stand out to your executive and to those in your department and to your organization. They will notice that you are keeping up with the times, that you are adjusting and adapting as necessary to be successful in today's workplace. The second reason why you should want to be a standout assistant is about molding your career. No one is handed a dream job. No one is gifted with a perfect career. It is something we have to work at. We mold, we create. And that's a huge change that has occurred in the administrative profession over 4 decades, and even 5 years ago. So it's so exciting, and I want you to take ownership. And so the idea here is that each assistant, that means you, needs to create the career you want. And that does not mean that you have to move up the ladder. It does not mean you have to change jobs or work for a different executive. If you love where you are, that's wonderful, but create the career you want. And to be able to do that, you have to stop and think, and you have to have a strategy, and you have to know where you want to head. And later in today's webinar, I'm going to talk about the strategy piece. Another reason why competitive marketplace, more than ever, your company needs you to be at the top of your game. It is very competitive out there. So again, if you're growing, you're learning, you're standing out, you're excelling, you are making your organization look good. All right, why else? I love the next one, the pace at which we work. So we just finished our 24th annual conference for administrative excellence. The theme for this year's conference was the accelerated assistant. And our whole event addressed and talked about how do you keep up with this accelerated pace. So our supersonic workplace demands that you be alert, you be sharp, you be inquisitive. So that's another reason, and another way that you can stand out is you keep up with the pace and you accelerate and you become more inquisitive and you work faster and sharper and you're more alert. You will stand out. I guarantee it. All right, the next one, this is a really, really important reason. It's because senior executives have higher expectations today of their assistants than they did in the past. And I see it and hear it all the time. A good deal of my work involves me working with executives and C-suite people, heads of learning departments and corporate universities, because they are the people who hire me to come in and work with their assistants or to provide some sort of training and development and education for their assistants. So I am talking to these executives all the time. And when I'm on site, I'm talking to them. So we have some excellent conversations. And they have definitely raised the bar. Executives and managers today, organizations are expecting much more out of administrative assistants today. They're realizing that assistants are more capable, that this is a career of choice. And they also want to be able to maintain and hold on to the assistants that they have. So what does this mean to you? Two things I want to focus on really quickly. If you already work for a top level executive, you need to sharpen the saw. Just because you've been in the profession for a long time doesn't mean that you can rest on your laurels. I mean, more than ever today, you have to keep fine-tuning what you do and learning new skills. And we're going to talk about that in just a few moments. For those of you who have aspirations of moving up in the profession, well, you definitely have to prepare now and in the future. So if you want to grow within the profession, if you're hungry like I was when I was an assistant and I started out as a receptionist, my goal was to work for a CEO. And I did in a very short time. And that's because I accelerated my pace of learning and I was a standout assistant. I mean, that's what I wanted to do so that I could support those higher level executives. That was my goal. All right, the last thing is it builds your confidence. When you grow and you learn and you take in new things and you become your very best and you let your talents shine and you get to leverage your talents, it builds so much confidence and that spurs you on to want to do more and be more. And then before you know it, you do stand out and you're given more opportunities and it just snowballs. I have one little quick word for those of you who might be retiring in a year or 2 years. We have a lot of administrative professionals now who are at that stage in their career. And my advice to you is don't rest on your laurels. Just because you're going to retire in a year, it doesn't mean you start going down the hill. You still have to maintain your pace. You still have to maintain your edge because you don't know what's going to happen over the next year. There is no guarantee. And so you want to prepare, always be prepared for that, and maybe be prepared for what you want to do next after you retire. All right, let's get to the how. And I will circle back on, by the way, in fact, let me do that right now for you because I see in the chat some of you are asking for the answers. So in your handout, on that first page, under the why, let's go through filling in the blanks, the why. The first one, unceasing change. Then over to the right, it's molding your career. The next is competitive marketplace. The P is for pace at which we work. The next why, executives have higher expectations. And the last is builds confidence. Okay, how? You know, that's the big question. How do you do this? Well, I just wanted to show you something really quick to give you some background information. And I'm trying to use some new tools in Webinar Jam. So bear with me. I think I've got the hang of this, but this is the first time I'm doing it live. So the information that I am going to be sharing with you with the how you go about it is all built around the Star Achievement Series, which I have been teaching for 27 years. It's our flagship program. And this is where I came up and built out all the competencies and skills and attitudes and behaviors that fell under attitude, skill, teamwork, and strategy. So what I'm going to do is all right, I think I just did something wrong. Malia, you're going to have to put me back. Okay, yay, it worked. All right, what we're going to do is build out from that. But first and foremost, it's a mindset. Before I even get to the specific actions and behaviors, you have to embrace a mindset of wanting to be that star in the profession, of wanting to excel, of wanting to stand out, of wanting to be your very best. If you don't have that mindset, the rest doesn't matter. It starts with your thinking. And then you utilize the tools that I'm going to share with you. So within the mindset, there are three pieces. First of all, the mindset says there is always room for improvement. In other words, I am saying to myself, and I still say it to myself this day in the work that I do, there is always room for improvement. It's a mindset that says, I don't know everything. And I can tell you there are plenty of assistants I meet, especially long-timers who say they have nothing else to learn. And quite honestly, I feel really sad for them because they're going to coast through life. It's also a mindset that says, I love this particular one, I'm always a work in progress. I love waking up every day and knowing I'm a work in progress. And you know what? I will never actually arrive. For me personally, I love the thought that I could keep growing and learning and stretching and being challenged. And you know what? That's what keeps you young, even though you chronologically age. So you've got to have the mindset first. All right. Now you've got the mindset. Now where do we go from there? So the second piece is to focus on the four key areas I mentioned: the skill, attitude, teamwork, and strategy. Let's take each one of these. And you could go through this within your handout. But first of all, under the skill piece, you want to enhance the good skills you already have. I know many of you out there, and I'm going to go back to the chat a minute, many of you are outstanding, wonderful, top-notch assistants. So what you want to do is fine-tune and polish and enhance the good skills that you already have. The second is to leverage your strengths. Now, this is different than the first item I just mentioned. Leveraging means you are looking for assignments that are aligned with your talents. You are seeking out assignments and projects. Maybe it's volunteer work, maybe it's committee work, maybe it's getting on a project team where you can actually leverage the innate gifts that you have been given. The other side of that is your executive needs to leverage your strengths. And your executives do not always know what your strengths are because maybe they're not giving you the opportunities to shine and use those talents. So the idea is to be comfortable talking to your leader and executive about what you can do and how you can help them and better support them. Let them know about the different even volunteer work, committee work you've done, because when you've been on a committee and you do outside work and volunteer work, that demonstrates leadership skills. The other thing is to create assignments or projects that will let your talents shine, and then your executive will be able to see through those projects where your true talents lie. The next piece with the skill, you have to build new skills. Now, I have been writing developmental programs for 27 years. I have comprehensive surveys. I have over 50, 60 standalone programs. I've created webinars. I can honestly tell you it never ends in terms of the skills you have to build because I'm writing those programs. I'm writing those blogs. I'm doing the research and it's endless. mean, over the past few years, I've talked about the resilient assistant and the learning how to be revolutionary. And assistants today have to learn emotional intelligence, and they have to learn about collaboration. They have to learn change management, self-management. The list goes on and on and on. So again, please, as you leverage the good talents you have, you enhance the good skills you already have, make sure you build new ones. Now, in your handout, you're going to see a list here. And I just want to tell you what this list is. This list encompasses the 15 core competency areas for the majority of administrative professionals. And I'm talking about star performing assistants. So star performing assistants excel in these 15 main competency areas. Now, within each of the competency areas, there are lists, 20 or 30 behaviors and actions within each of those. So if you looked at my full assessment, my full list that I have, under appointment, coordination, and planning, there is an entire list specifically listing the action or behavior a star assistant would use. Now, that is information that I share and use when organizations bring us in for training. But what I want to just give you right now is this guide, and you can go out and learn more. Actually, I apologize. I am so sorry. You have access to this. You can't access this. Normally, this is only used when I go on site and teach. But for you, for today and attending this webinar, I want you to have this. And you can go through it and you can assess yourself. And you can even ask your executive or manager to assess where they think you are in performing these various areas of your work. And then you can also use this tool to build your professional development plan. So through this, you can identify your strengths. Through this, you can identify the areas in which you want to grow. And that's what we use that competency model for. I could talk about that forever, but I won't. That's a whole other topic. Maybe in 2018, I will do a webinar just expanding on this whole piece of competencies because it's of huge interest, especially to executives and managers. When I show this to executives and corporate learning and development people, they get so excited because this is what they want their assistants to be able to do. And the last piece under skill is to consistently seek process improvement. My philosophy about work, and I'd like to share that so that maybe you can embrace it. Remember, I said this is a mindset, is to look at your work with a question mark as you go through your day. Ask yourself, how can I do this better? How can I simplify this process? How can I streamline? How could I have better supported my executive? How could I have better set up that meeting? How should I have or how could I have done a better debrief with my executive after a meeting? So all day long, you're asking yourself questions. And what happens is when you put questions in your subconscious, you will find new answers. If you don't ask questions, you're not going to do anything more than you're doing today. In fact, a perfect example is the Star Achievement Series program that I developed, which is 12 full-day workshops, 3 levels of learning. I have revised it 16 times in 27 years, and that's because I know I could keep raising the bar and making it better. All right, let's go on to attitude, which is one of my favorite areas. So with attitude, if you want to stand out, you want to achieve and maintain a positive attitude, and maintain is key because you know what? It's easy to walk in the morning and have a great attitude, right? And then as your day progresses and all this craziness starts, it's really easy for your attitude to start to slide. But when I thought back to those standout assistants, they always had a good attitude no matter what was going on in their day. It didn't matter how crazy it was. It didn't matter that they were supporting the CEO of a huge corporation and life was completely chaotic. And I so admired them because they maintained that poise and polish as they dealt with the crises. So a few key points with attitude, and I will circle back and fill in more blanks for you. So in case you feel a little lost, and don't forget, you're going to have the replay link. So don't stress out too much if you aren't able to fill in your blanks fast enough. Under attitude, number one point I want to make, you choose it. Yes, you choose your attitude. I choose my attitude. Things happen to us. People say things to us. And it's just knowing that it's our choice. And I'm not saying you have to run around with a big smile on your face and be perfect every single day. That's not what I talk about with attitude. All I'm saying is to realize you're choosing. And yes, there are days I choose to get upset about something. And I know I'm making that choice, but I also choose to not stay with it too long because I know that it affects my ability to be productive and to be a leader of office dynamics and the leader of my staff. So just keep in mind, you choose it. And that's the really good news. Because no matter what happens in your life, no matter what people say to you, you have a choice. Great news, isn't it? All right, the next one is to remember people are always watching you. You are on stage, and many of you who have followed me for years know I say that all the time. The minute you walk in that door, you walk in your building, you're on stage. People are watching you, and especially as administrative professionals, because you are representing your executive. And it's really important that you shine in these areas that I'm talking about. The next piece with attitude is self-management. So if you're looking for an area to grow and to excel, it's learning to manage yourself, manage your attitude, manage your thoughts. And so when you're dealing with that difficult person in the office, or maybe that difficult administrative peer, that instead, again, of getting carried away with it, which I'm not saying all the time it's going to be perfect, but you grow in learning to manage yourself better. You grow in managing your thoughts. If you have an attitude of fear and intimidation, and which you have, it happens all the time in the workplace, right? We're afraid to speak out. You feel intimidated by others. You have to manage those thoughts so you can be the standout assistant. And last, under attitude, is to leverage criticism. All star assistants use criticism to their advantage. Now, what helps with criticism is don't think about the words that are being used. And I know we get into the tone of voice or the way someone said it. But first of all, not everyone knows how to give criticism well. In fact, it's a small percentage of people who were born with just knowing how to give feedback. So the idea when you're that star assistant, you don't think about the tone and the words, because maybe they're not going to say it the way you want to hear it. But if you're a star, you're going to take the content, grasp the message that that person is trying to share with you, and leverage it to become better. All right, I'll take a pause for just a minute because I know we have a few more things to do, but I want everyone to be able to catch up. Let's go back let's just revisit attitude, and I'll fill in the blanks for you again. So under attitude, you choose it. People are always watching you. The next is self-management. Thank you, Melody. I see you filled that in for our group. And after that is leverage criticism. What is ET? I'm not sure what you're referring. Oh, emotional intelligence. I'm sorry, I didn't catch up on the ET. Well, that's a whole webinar in itself as well. It's very important for assistants to learn emotional intelligence. I've actually been teaching it for several years in our world-class assistant training program, but I will add that to my list for a webinar in 2018. So I hope you'll come back and we'll do a special webinar just on emotional intelligence for you. All right, let's move on. Teamwork. So to be a standout assistant, you're all about teamwork and building these great relationships. And so here are the areas or how you can stand out in the teamwork aspect. And when I talk about teamwork, I'm talking about building a great team relationship with your executive, seeing how you fit within your department team and also within your entire organization. All right, teamwork. It's displaying your talents so team members can utilize them. Again, if your team members don't know what you're capable of doing, they can't utilize your strengths. The next, helping bringing out the best in your coworkers. I want to pause on that one because it's really important. A lot of times I know when you're in the workplace and so much is going on, you don't maybe really have time to think, about your coworkers, but STAR assistants do. One of their goals, one of their mission, part of their mission statement is to bring out the best in others. The third, building strong relationships with everyone in the organization. When I was an assistant, I worked in larger organizations, I built relationships with the people in the mail room, the person who delivered mail. Remember then, we didn't have email, so they came around to our desk, but also going and visiting the mailroom and talking to all the people there, the person in the copy shop. So again, when you're the STAR assistant and you're striving for it, you're building strong relationships with everyone. And then you're creating a win-win. I mean, you never know when you're going to need the help of someone. And as assistants, I'm sure you know, though, it is a matter of who you know in your organization. I'll always hear assistants, or I'll hear managers or executives say, go to so-and-so's assistant because he or she knows exactly where to go in the organization to get what you need, right? How many times do you hear that? The next is taking the initiative to build a strategic partnership. And that, again, is another whole topic that, I've addressed in the past about building strategic partnerships. So when you are striving to be a STAR assistant, it's not just coming in and working, side by side an executive and getting the job done. You are working to build a strategic partnership. That is different. And the last fill in the blank under teamwork is, again, consistently seek process improvement. So as you work with a team, as you work with your department peers or your administrative peers, so they're part of the teamwork segment as well, you are also seeking processes for improvement. All right, the last key area is strategy. And I want to backtrack for just a moment because what I want you to understand is if you're going to be a STAR, you consistently work in all 4 areas: skill, attitude, teamwork, and strategy. And do you know what? Strategy is the weakest area for the majority of assistants. When I studied and looked back to those STAR assistants, why they stood out, this was the icing on the cake. A lot of assistants, hundreds of assistants have great skills. Hundreds of assistants I know have good attitudes. Hundreds and thousands of assistants are team players. So if I'm looking for a star, what's going to make someone stand out? This is it. It's the strategy component. So let's go through it. What do I mean by strategy? It's taking ownership of your career. Like I said, you don't sit there and wait for someone else to dictate your career. You're working your plan, you're growing, you're building. And if you need to, you strategize on how to get to a higher level position, which I did do as an assistant. So sometimes you have to strategize. You have to get in front of the right people and let them see who you are so you can get promoted. The next, it's embracing a lifelong philosophy. You do not turn this off. All the STAR graduates, the thousands of assistants who have gone through the STAR philosophy, it's a philosophy that you embrace, and you don't turn it off at 5 o'clock and you don't turn it on at 8 o'clock the next morning. When you embrace this kind of thinking, it will go through your entire life. It'll be there forever. And it also will be accessed in your personal life. You will rely on these four to have a better personal life, to get through your personal stuff. Next, having a real plan for your development, okay? I mean, a lot of times development's just talked about vague, big picture. Oh yeah, I need to get a little better at that. I need some time management tips. I need to get better at supporting my executive. If you want to be a star, you're going to sit down and have a real plan. And I have some information to help you get started. Next, under strategy, establishing your brand. This is the icing on the cake. And brand, again, is everything from your attitude to your appearance, to how you operate. Part of your brand could be you're always on time. Part of your brand could be that you're calm. Part of your brand definitely is your outer appearance. So star assistants, standout assistants, establish a brand, and they make sure they emulate or live that brand, illuminate that brand every day. Next is knowing how to socialize and network. So getting out there, building your social networks, and I'm not talking about social media. That's not really building your networks. You have to talk to people. You have to sit with people. You have to make time for people. You have to listen to people, show that you care. That's how you build real relationships. That's how 5 years later, when you need help with something, if you built a good relationship, you can reach back to that person and they're going to be there for you. Next, it's being future focused. All star assistants think about the future. And I'm not referring to your career right now. What I mean is, if you're that star assistant, you're not only thinking about today and next week and even the next few weeks. A star assistant will think about the next 3 to 6 months. So in other words, instead of just looking at today, I would look at the 3 months out on my executive's calendar. What's going on? What's coming up? What are the projects? Let's talk about them. What can I do? How can I be proactive? Who needs to be involved? And the idea is you have to make time for that. It's not going to just, be given to you. And I see that we're getting very close to when I need to turn over to questions. So let's finish this piece out. It's displaying leadership skills, really important. So where do you go from here? I know I've covered a lot of territory quickly and given you tons of information. Here's what I would do. If I were you, I would, number one, begin working on my mindset. As I said, you first have to embrace the mindset that I talked about. Number two, mentally be prepared for discomfort. If you're going to stand out, you're going to have to stretch. you're going to have to do things that aren't comfortable. And that's the other thing that I noticed with all the STAR assistants I knew when I was a secretary. They didn't always get to choose what they wanted to do. They didn't always like what they did. I didn't either. But when you're the standout assistant, you do things that are uncomfortable. The third is to identify 3 to 4 strengths and 3 to 4 growth areas in the 4 key areas. So if you look at your handout, I created a little chart to help you get started and to see what this would look like. So what you're going to do under the skill component, identify 3 to 4 areas that you really excel in the skill category. And then 3 to 4 areas where you need to grow. And then you do the same thing with attitude, teamwork, and strategy. The next step would be then to create your leveraging and development plans. In other words, how are you going to leverage the good skills you have? And then how are you going to grow in the areas that you need to grow? And then the fifth step I would take is I would discuss my plans with my executive and really have that plan for development. So we are at the end of the informational, educational part that I wanted to share with you. If you've missed anything, I just want to make sure one of my staff isn't trying to get a hold of me and tell me a message about anything. But what I would do, as I said, go back through all of this. Again, you'll get the replay link. So what we're going to do right now, let's go to the questions, because I know there's probably several out there. And also, please stay on if you can, because I have some important announcements for you and a great surprise for those who have attended the live webinar event today. All right, Malia, let's roll.
Hi, Joan. Okay, so Sarah, it's a little bit lengthy here, but really quickly. Sarah says, I just had my annual review yesterday, not sure how to word it, but I fell off the wagon in doing my job due to some personal health reasons this last few months, on top of having a baby 9 months ago. What kind of goals can I set for myself to get back on track and do my job consistently?
One is I would take the information that you received yesterday from your review, and hopefully there were specific areas that were identified. I don't know if it was a general comment, you're falling off the job, or here are specific areas. But if there were specific areas, then definitely start focusing on those areas. The other thing is just start focusing. Just get focused on your work. And your goal every day is to give your very, very best, because actions speak louder than words. So if I were the executive, I would need to see it happening, not just have you talk about how you're going to get better. Show me how you're going to get better. And one other quick thing I remember that I did when I was an executive assistant and later in my career, when I was going through some tough things during a certain period in my personal life as well, some family things going on, and I knew I wasn't giving my best every day, and I talked to my executive before he talked to me. Now, again, you got to think about your relationship, but I had an excellent executive. And I went in, his name was John, and I told him, I said, John, look, there's some stuff going on right now, some things in my personal life. I didn't go into the details. And I'm not quite myself right now. I understand that. I realize it. But I want you to know, because I'm not slacking on the job on purpose. There are just some things that are really difficult right now. I am going to do my best, and I will get back on track. It will come to an end. So I addressed it before my executive came and told me. And again, you have to think about your relationship, but hopefully you have a good enough one. Okay, Malia, next.
Okay, I hope I pronounce this name right. Zessara wants to know if you have any tips on how to handle jealousy, other assistants jealous of you, or you being jealous of other assistants.
So number one, if others are jealous of you, that's their problem. That's their issue. You keep being the standout assistant. I mean, you can't do anything about it. It's their deal. But you continue to be good in your work. On the other side, which happens, maybe you're feeling jealous of other assistants who maybe have other opportunities or whatever, I'm not sure. But focus in on your gifts, because everyone has their own gift, and we should never feel less worthy than any other person. So you have gifts that they don't have. So don't be jealous. You have your own special talents.
Exactly. Arlene is saying that she is a brand new board liaison to a brand new set of directors. Next week, she has her first face-to-face meeting with a full board and would love to make a great impression. How can she impress them on her first meeting?
Excellent question. First of all, it's all about the clothes you wear that day. I will honestly tell you that, because that's the first thing we're judged on, our outer appearance. So make sure your hair is meticulous. Make sure you have a power outfit on. What's a power outfit? Black is power. I have on a power outfit today. A navy is great. A red, very powerful. I don't know if you could wear red because I don't know your coloring, but in other words, don't wear pastels. They're not very powerful. Dark brown, now being the time of year that it is. Walk in tall, walk in proud, extend your hand right away. Don't wait for them to come to you. Go up to them, introduce yourself. Have a really nice portfolio. Don't bring just a little notepad. Again, it's all about the outer appearance. A nice pen. Have that good attitude. Talk confidently. There's probably several other tips, but those are the quick, immediate tips.
Great. Jane would like to know if it's a good idea to ask your executive about growth areas.
It's definitely. It is ideal. The reason being is your executive has a different perspective than you do. So you see things from one side of the desk, your executive sees you from another side of the desk. And actually, sometimes executives will point out real strengths in assistants that the assistant doesn't even see. On the other hand, they have a lot of insight as to what they want you to improve and where they want you to grow. But a lot of times they're so busy in their day-to-day, they don't take the time to tell you. How do I know this? Because when I have executives complete this assessment before I go in for coaching or training, and the assistant also completes it, there are a lot of areas for the assistant to improve. It isn't that she's not or he's not doing a good job, but that executive knows where they want to see them excel. So yes, 100% it would be an awesome idea.
Great. And speaking of that paper that you just held up, I have several people asking where they can get that.
Okay, so one thing in your handout, it's a rather long link here, but I just copied and pasted it into the handout. Brian, I'm not sure if we have anything. One idea I'm thinking, we always send a little message with the replay link. So possibly Brian could drop it in there as well. Thank you very much, Kay. Thank you, Kay.
Okay. Shoshana is saying, I think all of this is great. However, it's very difficult to follow when you're supporting more than one executive in today's working world. Most EAs support 2, 3, 4, or more executives, and I find a challenge to stay on top of everything for all of the executives that I support. Do you have any advice for how to stay on top of business priorities for all executives when they don't communicate those priorities to you?
Okay, that's really good. Thank you, first of all, for addressing that. So there's two pieces to this. So first of all, yes, you can be a standout assistant. Yes, you can. I supported multiple managers when I was an assistant. I worked in a facility of 900 employees at Steelcase. I worked for the general manager in Asheville, North Carolina. We had 6 assistants and 45 executives. So I not only supported multiple managers and their staff, I also supported customer relations. We used to fly in clients on our corporate jet. I handled all kinds of other things. So I can tell you from experience, because one thing, this is about that mentality and combination. What I would like to suggest, I know what you're asking me, the question really is, how do you stay on top of everything when you support multiple people? That's different. That is a different topic. We will add that to our schedule for our 2018 list, because that's a whole different program. But I can tell you, yes, you can do all of this, because I've done it. I did it as an assistant. And I know top executive assistants who manage, actually, let me take that back. I know assistants who are managing departments of 60 and 70 and even 100 people. But I want to get clear on this, because I want to help you. You won't achieve perfection, okay? This is not about being perfect in these areas. It's about waking up every day and doing the best you can do for that day. Because there are days you're not going to be able to keep up with everything. There are days that maybe you didn't sleep well or you have things going on. So I don't want to give the wrong impression to you. We just strive for this and do the best that you can. And then, yes, learn the tools, which, again, I hope you'll come back in 2018. I'll make sure we put that topic on our webinar schedule, and then we could dig in deeper. Thank you.
Okay.
We have about one more. It depends on how long it is, so go ahead.
Okay. Kelly would like to know, what does Joan suggest as a first step in taking the next step toward being a star assistant?
Well, it goes back, one, to the mindset. You have to want it. I hate to say it, but not everyone wants to be it, which is sad, because they're not using their greatest gifts and talents. But I understand the fear. So the mindset, what I would do is go back to what we covered today. And I would choose one under each of those 4 components that I want to focus on the next 60 days. And this way you're narrowing down. You're not trying to do it all at once, which is impossible to do it all at once. After your 60 days, go back, pick one more from each of those 4 categories. You focus on those the next 60 days. So what you've done, you've laid a foundation in the first 60 days. It'll just become a part of you. Then you add it on. So it's a layering process. We don't do it all at once. So Malia, I guess, I know we have 2 minutes left, and I want to make sure, I know some people have to head out. So I just want to go through the 4 announcements, and then I'll stay on 2 or 3 more minutes if we have another question to answer. So the first announcement is in 2018, we are hosting our 25th Annual Conference for Administrative Excellence. And our theme is the Stellar Assistant. We are building everything around everything that we talked about, our speakers, our presenters. We have hands-on labs where we're going to drill into all of this. So what I just want to share with you today, let me see if I could get this up correctly, is an exciting piece of this, is that if you do register by the end of this year, you will be entered for a giveaway, a $250 spa gift card to use at Red Rock Resort Spa, which is absolutely incredible. The other piece of this is our early bird registration ends December 31st. So you can save $200 on top of it and be entered for our drawing. As I said, it's going to be a very exciting 25th celebration. Everything's going to be around the whole star theme. And as I said, hands-on labs. We're going to have awards for assistants, all types of goodies. All right, the second announcement. This is what I'm excited about because this is a gift for all of you who attended the live webinar today. This is the month of gratitude. And I am so grateful for each and every one of you. And I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to participate today. So my gift for all live event attendees is one of my favorite webinars, and it's integrating work, home, and your personal life. So it's a $49 value, and I chose this one because this is a great time of year for we're all trying to get through the holidays, manage our personal lives and our work lives. So I hope you enjoyed that gift. The third little announcement we have, just to let you know what's on the horizon, we're going to be having our Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals. So you'll get an email about those. We're going to have some great things, and it's going to start that Monday of Thanksgiving. And I want to tell you about December and what we're going to do in December for you. On December 1st, it's a Friday, I'm going to do a half-hour webinar, and I'm going to be kicking off the 12 days of Christmas bliss. So we're going to do just a quick webinar with great tips, 12 tips, in fact, to kick off the holiday. We're going to have a lot of fun that day too. So I have a few ideas up my sleeve to make it fun and interesting. And then also, I hope you don't miss this one. On December 6th, we're going to do a whole hour Q&A. I just want to answer your questions. I want to know what's on your mind. What do you need help with? What haven't I covered this year? So that's all we're going to do for that webinar on December 6th. Mark the date. You can send in your questions. Well, first of all, when you register for December 6th, you can submit your question right then and there. If you don't know your question yet by that date or when you sign up, you can submit your questions to Malia Amira, and we have instructions for all of this for you. Or you could present your questions during our live event, just like you do today. So again, mark your calendars, tell your friends, get your administrative peers together. We are going to end this year on with a bang, I guess, with a bang, and have a grand holiday season. Thank you all so much for attending, and I hope you have an awesome rest of the week, and our entire team at Office Dynamics wishes you a happy Thanksgiving holiday. Bye, everyone.